everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Heather and we are a fun, fabulous sewing tutorial channel where I am always me and I encourage all of you to be you. What does that mean? It means that sometimes we do some oopsies, some boo-boos, sometimes we do our own thing, and it just is what it is. We embrace that for everybody, especially here doing sewing tutorials, because nothing is ever perfect, and that is ultimately at the end of the day what I am here to share. But today I am also here to share a new pattern for a sling bag that I am so excited about. I am such a sling bag girl. We have a Jeep and we take the doors off, and you just can't have like a carry purse when you're riding with no doors. You need that bag that's going to sit on your body, be nice and secure, and is not going to fly out when you go off-roading. So definitely a sling girl. So I'm excited to bring you this pattern today. Today we are doing the Trendsetter Sling Bag by Hemazing Patterns, and I have done a few other of the Hemazing Patterns on my channel before. I'm going to be doing some more as well, so those are going to be upcoming. Okay, you want to see it? Do you want to see what we're doing today? I'm so excited. Look at her. Okay, I mean, so stinking cute. All right, so first of all, this is definitely an intermediate bag. It is marked and marketed as an intermediate sewing pattern, so it's not like it says it's beginner. It is definitely intermediate. And I'm going to tell you, it's all about the pockets, and that's what makes it an intermediate bag, and it really truly is intermediate. I struggle with some of the pieces. I actually do one of the things here a little bit differently because my machine struggled so much with the first time that we did a pattern. It's kind of really all up to you what machine you have, what materials you're using. We're using the poly, which is great, but can be kind of wrinkly sometimes, you know. So anyways, so let's talk about it. So we've got this front pocket here. Okay, she's a cutie. And then we've got this pocket here. Okay, isn't this, we're here for it, adorable. And then we've got our main pocket up here that opens into this big giant pocket. Okay, and then we've got a back pocket that's going to sit on your body. So like if you're traveling, you have a passport, you have something really important that you want to hold right against your body, this bag has a back pocket for that, and it's huge. It's huge, like goes the whole way. Okay, we love that. We've got 2 D-rings, so we can carry left or right, and you can carry on the front or the back. It also uses 1.5 inch wide webbing, which you guys, you know, I love because it has some really cool designs. So yes, that's what we're doing today. We're smushing it out a little bit because it still needs, you know when you make a bag and you need to smush it. Anyways, so this is what we're doing today. This is a perfect travel bag. Perfect. So many pockets, so many options, so many secure options for you. I would seriously suggest you add this to your summer sew list. I will have the pattern and anything else that I can linked in the description box below, so make sure you expand that box, check it out. Yeah, let's get going. Let's head on over to the machine and check out our materials. All right, you guys, so let's start off by talking about materials. Now, typically I would have all of the pieces here, but I actually have the pieces sort of separated to the side with all of the pattern pieces, and because I don't want to show the pattern pieces, I'm going to leave those off to the side for now. We'll just take them as we go. So I'm just going to show you sort of the materials that we're going to feature today, and then we'll move into sewing the bag. So first we're using 1.5 inch wide webbing for our strapping and our D-ring connectors. So we have 1.5 inch wide hardware here that we're using. Now I needed this in a pinch. Your girl is out of hardware. So I actually bought this on Amazon. Typically I will buy my hardware on like Waywack, however people say that. That's how I say it, so that's what we're going with here today. But I got these off Amazon, and actually they look pretty good. So I will link these below. I will link everything that I can in the description box below. So make sure you expand that description box. There you'll see the link for the pattern and any of the goodies that I can link as well. We're using, like I said, 1.5 inch wide webbing from Wonderground Fabrics, and it is this really pretty design. Loving it. Love the colors. I thought it would go really well with what we're doing today. So we're going to set that to the side for now. And here is our 2 exterior materials. And these are the, they're called different things depending on where you purchase them from. This is from Whimsical Fabric Designs. And so this is called Whimsical Repel, but it's basically just like a waterproof poly. And this coral color is from Endolove Creation, and this is, they call it Polytech. They're the same basically. They're just called different things based on where you purchase them from, but I love this material. So we're using these 2 for our exterior, and then for our interior, we're using this Hex Ripstop material from Fabric Wholesale Direct. And this is fabulous material. It's also waterproof. None of these things need interfacing or anything like that. So it's great for bag making when you don't want those extra steps of interfacing. I'm not an interfacing girl, so there's that. And then we are using white number 5 zipper tape with silver teeth. And this is from Amazon also. I get most of my zipper tape from Amazon because I think it's really a good quality and you can get a lot of it at once. And then we just have a bag of number 5 zipper pulls that we'll use for all of our pockets today. So that is our material. As always, you guys, we're sewing on our Juki TL 2010Q, freshly oiled, new needle. We're using our tank foot as always. Numbers on the side are KT141. And so if you search that, you might be able to find it. If not, don't come for me. I got this a long time ago, and I know it's really hard to find, but it's my favorite foot. We're using Tex 35 weight thread from Wizardry Stitchery in white in the top and the bobbin. And we have a thick throat plate from Juki Junkies on, just because I was, breaking a lot of needles because I use really thick fabric and pushing, pulling, and all that stuff. So we have the thick throat plate on here all the time. I love it. I think it's fabulous. Just has a little larger hole for your needle, so it gives it a little more movement when you have those thicker seams, thicker material. You're not coming down on the metal as often. All right, so I think that's all the goodies. Let's get into the first part of the pattern. All right, so we're gonna start with our front panel. And you know what I haven't thought of? Where we want our bag tag to go and what bag tag we want to use. I guess that's the one thing that we missed. All right, let's see here. I don't know, you guys. Sometimes that's the hardest part, right? Is like figuring out what we want to do. All right, I think we're definitely going to go with the green, and I think we're going to probably put this either on the back or on the top. So we'll leave it to the side for now. But our bag tags came from Heartwood and Hide Co. They are custom made. So we'll set that to the side and try not to forget it later. So we're gonna start by building our just front zip pocket. One of the things that I absolutely love about this pattern designer is while some of the pattern components can be difficult, you usually start off with something that's pretty simple. And so that's what we're doing here. So we're just basically gonna build our pocket. We have all of our pieces for it. And we're basically just making like a pouch style zip sandwich here. And so I've cut our zipper a little bit longer than we need it. There are specific measurements in there. And you can also go ahead and baste your material, or you can sew them both together at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and just clip and then sew together at the same time. Okay, so we've got our exterior right side down on our zip and our mirrored cut of interior doesn't technically have a right and a wrong side, but because we have it mirror cut, that's what we're going with for right and wrong. It's one of the things I like about the ripstop. It is not complicated, but so you can see the mirrored cuts allows them to line up here in the same way. So we're going to stitch this on at the seam allowance given in the pattern. Just move you a little bit. And we have the tank foot on, so we're going to get as close as we can to the seam allowance. If we're a little over, we'll just cut off the excess. I'm not a huge fan of the zip foot I have. I was actually looking at new zip foots today, so we'll see. And then we're going to top stitch. And we're just sort of finger pressing this material, the exterior and interior, not necessarily something that you would be ironing, but it's very easy to just sort of pull apart. It's not going to keep a finger press very well either, so you just have to sort of work it as you go. Looks like we got snagged up on something here. We're just going to fix that. Make sure we don't have any issues. Okay, so see? Super cute. All right, now we're going to do the same thing on this side, and we're just going to make sure here that we match up our top and our side and our bottom so that we have a nice even sort of playing field. Okay, same thing, zip sandwich. Okay, and you know that you're right when you can see that your material sort of matches up there. Okay, and same thing, we're going to top stitch. So cute. Okay. We're going to cut down our top zip tape now. And we'll just grab our lighter and just burn the end of that. Like so. And we want this to close to the top, and open to the bottom. So we're gonna leave our pull off still for now because we'll be putting it on the bottom side. So we can go ahead and close up the top. And the way that we do that here, and you can see we do have some excess on the sides, which is totally fine. We're just gonna go ahead and match up our pattern. We cut directly on top. And so that's right sides together. For our exterior, and then our interior material, we're doing right sides together for that as well, so that when it opens, it will open and you'll see the correct side. So here we're just gonna match up our edges and incorporate that in. Again, if you're not comfortable with incorporating it in, you can baste first and then add it. All right. And then we're just going straight across. And then we're just gonna clip and flip. And we're gonna top stitch on our top panel. And a top stitch is always just a 1/8 inch stitch away from whatever edge it is that you're top stitching from. Just sort of taking our time over those different layers. And I am backstitching at the beginning and the end. All right, and so now is when we're going to put our zip pull on. Isn't this so cute? So we'll just open up our bottom. Kind of want to make sure it's as even as possible here. It should click together. Okay, there we go. Now we'll cut off our excess down here. Burn it up so it doesn't fray. And then we're going to take one of our front pocket lining panel pieces and we're going to baste this on right side up. And that's so that when you unzip this pocket, you have a finished inside. So I'll show you what that looks like. But here we're just going to make sure that we match up our tops. As best as possible. Give a little overhang or underhang or whatever. That's totally fine. Then we'll come down to the bottom and same thing, because everything here is lining up. We'll clip it in place. All right, and you can see here on our edges, we are off. And like I said, that's fine because we'll trim it up to match our front pocket panel piece. Just clipping all the way around. And we're gonna stitch from this side so that we can see sort of where our panels hit each other, because that's what we're looking for. And we're just basting this in place right now. And a basting stitch is a top stitch, so 1/8 of an inch, but it's just a stitch basically that you're never gonna see, just holding everything in place for the time being. So it doesn't have to be perfect either. And we're going over the zip tape here. I always take my time with zip tape. And right back to where we started, and we'll just do a couple back stitches. All right, and now we will go ahead and trim off our excess material here. Like I said, it really wasn't too much. Over here on this side, it's a little more. Okay, so now, right, when you unzip this, you can see you have a finished little pocket. Is that not the cutest? All right, we're gonna set this to the side just briefly while we work on putting together the gusset piece for right around our front pocket. All right, so this zip is cut to exactly the correct size, and we've burned our edges. We have another zip pull, and this is our front pocket zipper binding. And we're just gonna take this and we're gonna give it a little crease. The pattern suggests you use double-sided tape here, but we're not going to do that because our machine can struggle sometimes with double-sided tape. And then I can see this crease here, so we're just gonna fold in towards the crease. We're going to do that on both sides. Okay, so at this stage, your binding should be 1 inch wide, okay? Then what we're going to do is go ahead and fold it over to sort of create our binding strip. And at this stage, your binding strip should be 1/2 inch. So I'm just gonna incorporate it into the clips for now. I'm gonna make sure that we're at that 1/2 inch mark, and if we're not, we'll adjust. Then we will add our zipper in. And here's where you wanna be sort of mindful of fabric, because if you're using a really thick vinyl, this is a pretty good amount of layers, all sort of layered together. So just something to think about. All right, so we're gonna measure this, make sure it's 1/2 inch, and then we'll incorporate our zip in. Okay, so we are at 1/2 inch. So we're just gonna go ahead and we wanna push that zip all the way in to the crease. We'll sort of start at the top here. And we'll unclip and sort of push in as we go. And we might have to sort of adjust this again, since we're not using double-sided tape or glue or anything like that. we could have to make some sort of manual adjustments afterwards, but it will save our machine and our stitching in the end. Okay, so at this point, your entire thing should be 1 1/4 inch wide, and if it's not, you just want to pull your material here either to the left or to the right, depending on your measurement across. So I checked and we're exactly at the measurement that we need to be, so we're gonna go ahead and stitch on our zipper binding as close as we can get to that zipper. We're just going to try to keep everything in place as we go. We'll take our time here. And I do backstitch at the beginning and the end. Okay. And we're just going to grab the other piece of our front pocket binding here to finish this up. Okay, so we've got the other part of our front pocket gusset, and we have our finished zipper pocket panel, and we've put our zip on here. We're going to go ahead and turn this right side down to our right side up. We're going to align the end here, and then we'll be folding over our other edge like so. And that's what we're going to stitch together there. I'm just going to go over it from this side. Okay, so basically this is sort of like what you end up with, okay, like so. We're going to do the same thing on the other side of the zip, so we will take it, align here, clip, and then add in our fold. Which we're using sort of slippery fabric, so it can be a little difficult. Do your best. All right. We're gonna flip these now. And you can see that it sort of makes like a long sausage, and that's what we're looking for. Now we are going to top stitch here on both sides. So just make sure your fabric is pulled away. And we're taking our time here because you can hear we're going through some thick fabric, thick material. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna baste together our little hot dog roll here. So I'm gonna clip it all the way down, and basting it together will just make it easier for us when we go to attach this. See? Easy peasy. Alrighty. So what we need to do now is find the center point on the short ends and the long ends of this pocket and our gusset piece. And so just a real easy way to do that is to go ahead and we're going to clip our centers. Top and bottom. And same thing here. Okay, so you can see those. And then we'll do this here as well, except we're not going to clip on our zip. We'll just use our air erasing marker to sort of find the center markings. We're lining up those side seams here. And we're just grabbing our air erasing marker and we'll mark the center of our zip like so. I just don't like to cut into zip tape. Okay, and then our bottom center. And then we'll match up our centers here to find our side centers. All right, so then once everything is marked, you're gonna take your panel, you're gonna turn it so that it's wrong side out, and we're gonna match up our center mark on the top. Okay, and then we'll match our center mark on the bottom, and then we'll do the sides, and then we'll sort of ease our material in after we sort of make those center marking matches. And you can see we're gonna have to do a lot of easing. That's okay. As long as the centers match, we are gonna be golden. All right, so I'm just gonna keep sort of moving around as we get to the bottom here. In our material, I'll be making snips as we go around to make sure that we can sort of fit that material in around our corners, and those snips will allow your material to fan outwards, okay? So that's what we'll be doing until I feel like we're in a pretty good space with our matching of material. All right, so we're on here. We're gonna go ahead and baste our gusset on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance for now, just to sort of hold it in place. And obviously we made snips down here, so we're not gonna end up getting through our snips, but that's okay because this is just the based stitch. And you just want to try to keep that pulled as close as possible to the edge. And we're really just taking our time up here. Again, just make sure that everything stays sort of pulled to the edge. We're using our screwdriver because it's got a nice flat bottom on it. We're just going to move our zip back out of our way here. Okay. So that is kind of, you can get a sort of idea of what we're going to be working with here. Obviously, we're not finished, but that's kind of like what our front pocket is going to turn out to be here-ish. Going to keep that right there in the middle. We're going to cut off any excess that we have so that it doesn't sort of interfere with our final shape. Okay, and then we're going to push sort of all of these in. We're going to put the right side of our back pocket lining down, so right sides together, and then we're just clipping this on. Okay. All right, so we have unzipped away and just sort of clipped the top, and I'm gonna share a little trade secret here. Really what the instructions say to do is to clip the whole thing on, but I find it very difficult once you've had the whole thing on to make sure that you stitch your zipper down appropriately, because it's going to want to like flip flop and wiggle and all those things on you. And so we're just going to stitch along this top piece, just the top piece by itself for now. And then I'll go ahead and I'll re-zip so that the zip is out of our way, and we'll continue to clip around the whole thing. It's just the zipper can get wonky under here, and you don't want to accidentally sew over or get too close to your zip teeth, and you could really easily do that. So this is just my little trick, I guess, for making sure that that doesn't happen. So we're just going to get as close as we can here. And I'm just back stitching, making sure our thread catches. I can kind of hear that it's not. Which is why I've gone over it a few times here. And now it's easy to just feel sort of where those teeth are, make sure that they're out of the way. It's hot in here, it's a little steamy, so my machine is like making some steamy noises. And I just find this so much easier. I think it makes a really nice finish. Obviously, you do you. If you have a way that works better, go for it. I just have found that this works for me and wanted to share in case it's not something you maybe thought of. Okay, so that's our top sort of sewn on, and we'll just now stick our zip up here so that we can re-zip it. Again, it gets a little wonky, but I really just think it's easier this way. Okay. Now we'll just continue to clip all the way down. And we're going to leave our opening over here where our zipper now is, and that way we don't have to worry about moving our zipper again. We did mark centers. We'll come in here, and before we finish stitching, we will just clip off our excess so that we don't confuse ourselves with where we need to be sewing.
Okay. All right, and there we go, you guys. We're just gonna keep trying to make sure that we keep everything flat. We're gonna pick up exactly where we left off, go all the way around, and then we're gonna leave this section open for us to pull everything through. And again, like if you have a way that works better for you, like you go ahead. This is just what I found with pockets like these that work really good for me. And I'm also going to tell you that this part, this front pocket, is the most difficult part of the pattern. By a long shot. So once you get past this part, it is pretty much smooth sailing. And we're just doing a nice back stitch here. Okay. All right, we're just gonna go sort of around and cut some relief cuts, especially in our corners. Not up there, because we have our tape. We did not leave that big of a hole. So we're just gonna reach in and just kind of gently try to grab an opposing end, start to sort of work that through. If we have to, we can always make our hole a little bit bigger. We almost forgot that we had to leave a hole. So it's a little smaller than I was anticipating. You know, the delicate balance between pulling too much and not pulling enough. It's kind of hurt my fingers here. We're starting to see it. We're getting there. All right, I'm gonna keep working at this until we have it fully turned out. Which we're getting there, you guys, we're getting there. All right, we got it. See how now it's like finished? This is our turn hole here that we're gonna stitch together because we're gonna top stitch on our material here, and that will sort of close it up. So this is super thick. I'm just going to like really carefully, it also says in there if you're using a domestic machine that you can not top stitch over this zipper piece, so you can sort of start over here, go up, over, and then stop here. That's what we're gonna do. But this is it's very thick. And I'm not entirely sure it's gonna work out for us at all. We'll see. I'm just kind of hand cranking. See if we'll stick. Okay, that one's stuck. And I'm hand cranking across the bottom here because I know that this is like super thick. I can feel it. Makes me really nervous that we're not going to get through it. And I just hate to ruin a project on a top stitch, you know? So we're hand cranking this baby for now till we get to a point where I feel like it's not super thick. And that might not be here for quite some time. So I'm just like gently moving it. I want to make sure that we stitch together our panel here. So I'm actually just going to keep hand cranking because it's working for us, because I don't want to ruin our top stitch, but I do want to make sure everything is sort of sewn together. So I'm going to hand crank all the way around, and then we will come back and we'll put this pocket on our front piece. And like I said, this whole construction of the pocket is really the most difficult part. So we're almost done the hard parts. Everything else in this bag is going to seem super easy, especially after sort of constructing this whole thing. So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll come back and put this baby on our front panel. All right, so we've top stitched and we have our front panel. We've used the pattern piece to make the center markings for where we're going to place our pocket. And then we've also marked the centers on all 4 of our sides here. And basically we're just going to go ahead and sort of baste our center markings on before we stitch our entire sort of project pocket together. So I'm just going to match those centers, and we're just going to do a very little stitch to hold it in place, and this will just help us make sure that the pocket is centered and it is exactly where we want it to be. That's it. Do the same thing on the bottom here so I can see where our center mark is. And we have like a mark as to where the bottom should be, and that's what we're lining up also. That will give our pocket that nice little bump out that we're looking for. And if we're lucky, everything is kind of matching up for us perfectly, which is what we're after here. And we're just sort of basting these sections on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, because that's the seam allowance that we'll be utilizing for our stitch around. So we'll basically go over all of these. Okay, so it's like you get a rough idea, But that's how we're making our pocket. So I'm just gonna trim all of our long threads from sort of basting so that they stay out of our way. And then we'll go ahead, we're gonna start at the bottom and we'll go all the way around our pocket. And we're just sort of making sure that everything is kind of like pushed out. Where we want it to be, and that's how we'll stitch on our pocket. Like I said, we'll start down here, basically where we started before. I am back stitching. You're really not going to see it much, so I'm not worried about it. And here we're just making sure that we pull out our corners. You can draw your entire outline of your pocket if that is helpful to you. And we're just kind of continually pushing our material out of the way. And we're just worried about kind of what's in front of us. And we just want to make sure that we go over those stitches that we already did. And I'm just doing exactly the same thing, kind of lining everything up as we go. And I'm just gonna move this zip out of our way here. Yeah, same thing as we come along to our stitches that we have already. And then we're just gonna come right back over to where we started. And a couple stitches. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. All right, overall, I feel pretty good about our pocket. So that's the inside. It's a cutie. All right, so that's our front panel. We're gonna set this to the side for now, and we're gonna start to work on our front top panel. So we're gonna grab this and another zipper. All right, so we've got our large zipper. And we're gonna end up with 2 zipper pulls on this, but we're not putting them on just yet. So we've marked the centers of the zipper and the centers of our exterior and our interior. We're gonna go ahead and match up those centers. Okay, so we're putting the right sides together here. So our zip is down. And we're gonna clip it all the way across. All right, so we're clipped on our exterior, and we are actually gonna baste this time because this is a pretty good curve. We just wanna keep everything exactly where we want it. So we are gonna baste our exterior to our zip before we add our interior. You are able to sort of flatten out this curve a good amount, so it's not like super difficult, but it's also not super easy. It's interesting. Let's go with that. All right, so just take your time with that. Patience is going to be your friend here. So you can see that's kind of what we're working with here. So now we're going to want to go ahead and add our interior. And so with our exterior facing up, we'll go ahead and add our exterior with our right side down. So right sides together, and here we're just making our traditional zip sandwich, just a little untraditionally because of the shape of our material. And we're gonna clip it all the way, and then we're gonna sew it at the full seam allowance. And we're sewing with the exterior side up just so that we can make sure that everything that we're sewing is nice and flat in front of where we're sewing it. All right, there we go. All stitched on. And it looks like we actually are gonna have to unpick a little bit because we caught our lining. So not a big deal. We obviously want that to be flat also, and we happened to do the exact same thing on both sides. We were almost good. So easy unpick here. And we'll just restitch. And so when you unpick, you want to go back a couple stitches to where you were before you unpicked. And you just want to seal those in there. And we just want everything to be flat on this side as well. It's a little wonky. It's going to be wonky. That's okay. So that is much better. And we'll fix this side here. By doing the exact same thing. You can, I mean, it's still a little, like I said, it's wonky, but at least it's not catching itself anymore. And we'll just flatten it out as much as we can. Okay, there we go. And I'm just gonna clip this together. So the idea here is that it's gonna go like this, and that's kind of why it's wonky at those little bits. Sort of like, it looks like extra material right now. And we want to top stitch, so we want to kind of make sure that our wonkiness gets pulled away as we go. So we will stitch it in the shape that it's meant to kind of be in here, and hope that that allows us to have a nice clean top stitch. It should. Just pull your fabric away and be really mindful of it. So I'm just trying to sort of maintain the shape that we're going for here, in the hopes that it will help with our creasing, if that makes sense. We don't really want that to crease. And see here, same thing, just kind of on the other side. And so that's how we'll manage this side as well. It should get a lot less wonky once you top stitch. And we're just kind of pulling everything away here. All right, there we go. So we get a little bit of creasing here in the corners, but that's nothing that won't kind of like work itself out as we go. I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it. Top stitch looks pretty good. All right, we're gonna add our zip pulls. And because we're doing two, we're gonna add one from each side. And they'll just kind of meet in the center. Fabulous. I love when stuff falls. Okay. Okay, there's one. And the other one. All right, now we're just gonna trim down our zip tape so that it's even, and then we'll grab our bottom gusset pieces. Okay, so what we're doing next is basically a gusset construction. Again, the shape is probably just a little different than what you're used to, but we're basically taking our exterior gusset piece, we're putting it right sides together with our exterior top gusset piece, and then we're going to take our lining and we're going to put that right sides to right sides with this gusset piece. And you can baste here if you wish, or you can go ahead and just stitch together at the full seam allowance, which is what we are going to do. All the way across. Good back stitch. Make sure our stitches are good, and they are. Okay, and we're gonna go a little just sort of off book here, and we're gonna do our top stitch now, and then we'll connect our gusset pieces after. We're doing a little more than 1/8 of an inch here. You do you on this, whatever you feel like is gonna be good. I knew we'd have a little bit of a bulky bit, so I was generous with our seam allowance. Alright, and then we're going to take the other side of our exterior gusset and we're going to do the exact same thing. So we will stitch this on as we just did and do our top stitching. Alright, so once your gusset is sewn on, we are just going to sew down both sides. So I have clipped ours and we're just basting these together. It makes it easier later. So this does not have to be the perfect stitch. It's one that will not be seen. And then we're going to do the same thing down the other open side. All right, so your next step here is going to be to make sure your centers are marked, and you're going to attach this gusset to your front piece. Now, the instructions are going to have you attach it basically just like how you did for this front pocket piece, where we put it on, we pulled it through. We made sure everything was all set. We top stitched. However, I think what we're going to try to do, because our machine is struggling and I don't know why. So we're just going to try like a different method and we're going to see if it works. And that way too, maybe your machine is struggling a little bit. I really had to hand crank around even this section, and so it makes me a little nervous for the gusset piece because that's so much bigger. I'm worried that I'll have to hand crank that too, and yikes. Guys, yikes. I don't know that I have the strength to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and find our centers, and we're just gonna do a little alternate method here. Now there's nothing wrong with how the pattern tells you to do it, but in case you're like me and you're having a hard time with your machine, let's see. Is there another method that we can use? Like, we are closing this bag with binding. I did not intentionally leave that out when I was doing supplies. I actually totally forgot that we were closing the bag with binding. So to me, I'm thinking, well, maybe we can also close this side of our gusset with binding as well. So So that's what I'm thinking, you guys. That's what we're gonna give a go. See if it's easier for our machine. The look will end a little differently, but I think it's gonna be okay. We're gonna try it out. And you know what, you guys? If it doesn't work out, at least you know that it did not work out. And you won't have to try it for yourself. So I'm just putting these wrong sides together. Since we're gonna bind the bag, we're gonna actually baste our lining to our exterior right now so that we can get everything all situated. When you add a pocket to a piece of material, it changes, it alters that material. So it's gonna be smaller, and that's totally fine. We just really want to try to make sure it's equally as small. So we're gonna clip this all the way around. You can see we sort of have our extra here at the bottom, which I think is fine. We're stretching it where we can. Okay. Not too shabby, right? We're not too bad here. We're just off the tiniest bit. All right, we're gonna baste along the edges. And again, these are wrong sides together, so we have the right side of each facing outward. A little nervous, but we'll see. We didn't pick the easiest material to sew with, that's for sure. All right, there we go. All set here. Still have our centers marked, so we're just gonna turn this so that it is wrong side out and right side in, and we're gonna go ahead and just match up our centers here. Okay. And then we'll match up our center on the bottom. Okay, and then we're just going to ease everything else sort of into place. We don't want to snip into our zip tape. So if we need to make snips, we're going to make those in the bottom. So we're going to do our top corners first. Okay. And I think we'll probably come in here with our stapler. Make sure that nothing moves on us. If you guys have never used a stapler when you're sewing, it is one of my favorite sewing tools for sure. Okay. And we're just easing in here. So down here at the bottom, where we need a little extra work, we're just going to come in here and we'll cut slits, and that will make our material sort of fan out, and it should spread out across the bottom, and we're only snipping into the gusset piece, and you can see here what I mean by that sort of fanning out. And then we're just going to clip that as well. Like I said, we will probably come in here with staples. Really make sure that everything stays where we want it to. Okay. And then over here, same thing, but it looks like we don't need as many. Just need a little fan going on this side. Yeah, there we go. And that kind of matches our other side, so that's perfect. All right, now let me grab a stapler. It is over here in my tools. All right, so here's my stapler. I got it from Waywack, and you're also gonna want a staple remover because we do have to remove the staples. But basically, you just come in here and sort of inside your seam allowance, you're putting some staples, which is gonna keep everything in place for you, especially in those little bits that you're worried about. The corners that are kind of pulling. You want to make sure everything stays where you want it. And then especially up here on your zip sections, you really want to make sure that you have that sort of stay where you want it. So we're just going to add a few staples in here. Help us along. Okay, and then we're going to stitch all the way around with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, you guys, making sure that we do not stitch over our staples. I like to start on a straight side. And we are back stitching. If you have never done binding before and you're like, oh gosh, seriously, bound bags used to terrify me. And now they're my favorite. They really are. I just feel like they have such good structure. They're really pretty easy to put together. They're my jam. Okay, and we're just gonna sort of take it slow as we come up to where this gusset meets. Make sure that it catches. Okay, and here's where the staples really come in handy. You can see it's holding that zipper tape exactly where we want it. Okay, we're coming up to our pulls here, and I am just going to be mindful of those. I really want to move them out of the way here. There we go. Now we don't have to worry about them again, which is perfect. You can definitely do this without staples, of course, but I just find it so much easier. Okay, we're coming up to that gusset piece where it sort of connects again. So we're gonna do that same thing that we did on the other side. We're just gonna backstitch a few times. Make sure it's good to go. Okay, and then right back to where we started, and we'll go over a few stitches, backstitch. All right, so we do have to take out the staples still, but let me just show you now what we're working with here. Okay, so that's gonna end up being our bag front, and I think it's gonna be okay, you guys. I do, I think it'll be all right. We're gonna take out our staples, and then we're gonna add our binding, and look what we're doing. This super fun bright lime green for just a punch of color in there. This is fold over elastic. It's 1 inch wide. It is my favorite thing to bind with, especially when you have corners. And it makes binding so easy and super beginner friendly. So I'll link this below as well because it is my favorite. All right, so I'm just going to use my staple remover to take out the staples, and then I will clip on our fold over elastic. And when you do that, you are just putting a light stretch to it. You'll see it once it's clipped on how really nice it looks, and then we'll just stitch it on, and then we'll be done with this for the time being. So we'll be able to move on to our other pieces. All right, so there's our binding. Like I said, it is pretty easy to use this kind of binding. I will tell you, we're just fixing our start and stop point here, that it's going to come out looking really good. I am 100% sure of that. Also, we made sure that we're away from our zipper up here. So we're still covering the raw edge, but not necessarily as much, I guess you could say. And we're just going to go in here and just slightly smaller than a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we'll put this on. If you're brand new at binding and it makes you feel better, you can use a coordinating thread. This white that we're using, you're really not going to be able to see it either. It just gives a really nice look, finished look If you open bags in stores, which I do all the time, this fold over elastic is what most bags in the store are gonna have as their binding. Unless you're like headed to the fancy stores. Then you're more likely to see some leather as binding. But because this isn't a finished stitch, it's really like, it's not a big deal. And so I think that that's just really important too. Like, if you mess up the binding, no one's gonna notice, right? No one's checking. It'll be the least scrutinized part of your bag, I promise. We're just going to move those zip pulls out of our way again. You can see the zipper is having absolutely no issue closing, so we're plenty far away. And I just think this is a good alternative if you're struggling, or if that method for the front pocket was a lot for you and you just want something a little simpler here. Right back where we started here. And look at that. See how cute that is? So this will be our sort of interior front. With the binding. Like so. Okay. There we go. We're going to set this to the side for now, and we're going to move on to the next section of our bag. All right. So we have set our front and side, and trust me, we are almost all done. All right. So we have our back panel, and this is the wrong side of our exterior. And the pattern designer gives you the zipper box that you need right on the pattern piece, which I absolutely love because I'm not a fan of drawing our own. So we've got one of our back zipper pocket pieces, and this is right side up, and then we're putting our exterior right side down. So right sides are together. We're just kind of loose clipping our material here, and we're going to stitch this box, stitching our exterior and interior together. This is the last pocket that we're putting together. This bag has a lot of pockets, which is awesome, and I love that it has this back pocket because it gives you a space to keep something nice and secure right against your body, which is very important. And then right back to where we started. We'll take our clippies off. And we're just going to grab our seam ripper here to start us off, and we're going to rip through both our exterior and interior right in the center, just enough to be able to get our scissors in here. And if you need to draw a box, you can just draw a center line. Oh, it looks like Looks like we did not secure here in the corner, and that is actually really important when you're making a zip box. So we're just going to do that again. Our other corners look just fine. Okay, so we're going to come up, and then we're going to sort of, I call it, we're going to Y out. We're just making the Y here. And same thing here. So you want to get like right into that corner, but not through your stitching. And then I just like to sort of push against our edges before we turn it. All right, so now we're just gonna go ahead and grab our lining, pull that through. And we're just gonna come in here, and we are gonna clip this while we put together our zip. So we're just sort of finger pressing, we're getting that seam nice and crisp. We're going to do that along all four sides of our zip box. All right, so we're clipped. If you're using a fabric that you can iron, I would definitely suggest that. We also have our last zip prepared, so we've threaded on our zip pull, and we want it to be closed to the top and open to the bottom. So this is going to be the bottom of our zipper, and then we've got double-sided tape on both sides. I do try to avoid double-sided tape, but when you're doing like a zip pocket, you really kind of need it. It's pretty necessary. All right, we're going to take our clips off. Just kind of move them over here. Try to keep everything all in place and together. And then we're gonna go ahead and just lift it, and we cut our zip tape bigger than we needed it. And we basically just wanna center our pocket right over that zipper. And we'll just go ahead, stick her down. And then we're gonna stitch around our zip box. Does not really matter where you start. We're going to start here, sort of towards the bottom. And then we'll just move this right out of the way here. And as we get to this corner, we're just kind of like pushing our material out so that it goes where we want it. We're just going to take our time over the zip teeth. They're not metal, but If you were ever gonna break a needle that you've been sewing a whole bag with, it's gonna be over a zipper. So better to be safe than sorry. I'm just gonna pull that right back up so we don't have to worry about it again. And again, down here at the corners, we're just gonna make sure that we pull our material away. We're like close, but not quite. Okay. All right, and now we need to finish off our pocket. Just undo our exterior here because we don't want that in our pocket. Okay, and we're just going to take our other zip pocket panel piece and we're going to put it right sides together. We're going to clip all the way around, leaving the exterior out of it. So we're just clipping our zipper pocket panel pieces. Okay, so our exterior is out of it, but our pocket pieces are clipped together and we're going to stitch around the whole thing. We obviously want to make sure that we keep this pocket out of our final stitch. So we are going to come in quite a bit here and then we'll cut off our excess and see how we're doing. There are measurements in the pattern also, so definitely follow that. Just make sure your exterior stays out of the way. We're actually gonna pivot here. I forgot what we were doing for a second. We want this pocket to be nice and big. But like I said, we do want to make sure that it stays out of our seam allowance. So we're just being mindful of that. Alright, so we'll come in here, we're going to trim this up. We're going to see what we're working with, see if we got it small enough. Not too bad, you guys. We're definitely small enough here on the bottom and the sides. And it is like a really good pocket. You could put your passport in here. I think I'm going to come in just a little bit up here and cut that in just a little closer. And we're just going to kind of go at a diagonal. Just a little, just a hair closer, you know? And we do want to just incorporate that into the stitches. We'll do that over here too. That way we can go ahead and cut off our excess. And you definitely don't have to do this. I just kind of wanted to. Let's see where we're at. Okay, love that. That is perfect. All right, so we have our D-rings on our webbing. We're not making the connectors. That's not our jam. We don't typically do that. We are going to want to work on our strap now. So we've got this, and then we're going to grab our webbing cut to the length that we need it to be. All right, so we're going to use rivets. We're not going to sew. I prefer to rivet a strap, so I will sort of show you the steps. So you're going to take one side of your webbing and you're going to put it around your slider bar. Okay, and here if you were stitching, this is where you would make your stitch. We are going to fold over our webbing so that our raw edge can't be seen, and we're just going to poke 2 holes for our rivets. Okay, like so. And then we will install our rivets. I am going to do that off camera at my green machine. I have used that in a lot of tutorials lately, so if you're curious, I do have a lot of those in there, and I also have a how to make a strap video, which I will try to remember to put in the description box below, and we use rivets for that too. All right, so once we have our rivets set in, we want to, on the wrong side of our strap, put the wrong side of our swivel on, and then we are up and over like so. So you can see one side now has a swivel, and that is what will be on or connecting to our D-rings. And then this other side is going to end up in between our top 2 pieces. So pretty easy there. We are going to move to our top 2 pieces. Okay, so we want to put our strap right side up, right in the center, and just to make sure we're getting our centers correct, we are just going to make a couple of little snips in both sides. Okay, so now here again is where we are going to take our, I'm just walking myself through this here, and then we'll have 2. Centered, and then we'll take our other piece and we're just going to clip down our other sides as well. Alright, so we're clipped on 3 sides, and the side where our webbing is coming out, that is staying open. We are going to stitch on all 3 sides. Make sure you give a good back stitch. I don't, you guys, you know what? There's something going on with my machine. It is skipping so many stitches. Luckily, I'm catching most of them. I don't know, I might have to do something here. I might have to figure out what's going on with our machine because it is, whoo, it's driving me crazy. Did we stitch that in there? What is going on here? All right, I think that our webbing was a little close and it shouldn't have been. So we're just gonna move that out of the way. There we go. All right, we're gonna trim down our corners really good. Not our webbing though. All right, we need to even out our top just a hair, so we're gonna put it back in. Looks like we need to come this way just a touch across so that it's even. Okay, that is definitely better. And we sort of want to get in here pretty good and poke out our corners, sort of away from our webbing here. And then we're going to top stitch along these sides, the top, and down this side, and we're leaving the bottom open. Okay. And as we come up to where our webbing is, we are just going to make sure that we take our time. We are going through more material. We want as nice of a stitch as possible. This sort of cotton woven is one of my favorite types of webbing because it sews through really nicely. And then we're just going to grab sort of a scrap piece of fabric here to use as like a hump jumper as we come back down from that webbing, in the hopes that we can stop any sort of skipped stitches. All right, not too bad, you guys. Now we can go ahead and attach our straps and connectors. Okay, so the pattern is going to give you a measurement where you want to place your D-ring connector on each side. We're going to go ahead and baste this on. Just make sure your pocket piece is not in this basting stitch. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, make sure your pocket is not in that baste stitch. And this will allow you to carry it on the left or the right hand side. And so if you don't want that option, if you just want it to carry left or right, you don't have to do both D-rings. You can do just one. And then we are going to take, and we want the right side to be facing upwards. Like so. So we're just gonna, we have centers marked. We're gonna match up our centers and we're just gonna baste that on. And like I said, you want your, the side you want people to see to be up, if that makes sense, not facing down. All right, so that is our strap. Now we're gonna go ahead and baste our lining on the same way that we did before. Since we finished our other side with binding, we're actually going to finish this side exactly the same way. So we're going to find our centers and we'll walk you through some of these steps here. And this is wrong sides together. So this is the correct side. And our hardware is quite heavy, so definitely keep that in mind. We also added that pocket, which again, just like the front, changes sort of the dimension of our piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip all the way around, and then I'm gonna baste our exterior and interior together. All right, so we're basted, and now what we wanna do is attach our panel, our exterior panel, to our back. So to do that, we want to go ahead and turn our gusset sort of up, so we're pushing everything else down, and then we will turn it so that it's right sides together, wrong sides out, and we will make sure that all this stuff is smushed in. We're gonna match up our centers and our flat tops here. And we just want our going to pull this out through our zipper so that we don't accidentally stitch over it or anything like that. Okay, that will help us sort of flatten it out in there too. And then we will match up our bottom centers, and we're gonna, just like we did previously, we're going to ease our way around this bag so that everything matches. We'll clip into the gusset if we need to sort of make that match happen. We're not sewing on any zipper this time around, so we are able to sort of maneuver how we wish without fear of that zip kind of moving or anything like that. These seams are not thick, so I don't really foresee any issues for us. So we're just going to keep going around, making sure everything matches up, clipping, and then we'll sew our bag together. All right, we are all clipped. We did have to clip into our bottom corners here, but just barely, so it fits super nice. We're just gonna take this right on up here. Just make sure that the metal on your D-ring connectors is out of the way. Definitely don't want to accidentally sew over that. That would be really sad. All right. And then we're stitching around just like we did before. And I'm just moving as we go, making sure that just what's right in front of us is flat. And this is a really pretty easy sew. So this part at least, you've kind of done the hard work already. Again, just make sure the metal on your hardware is out of the way. And this feels like it has moved. It has, so good thing we sort of crunch our hand in there. I would suggest that you stitch this part together. We did not, but I would the next time. We're going to go straight across the top here. And you can hear that's where we're going over the sides of our top sort of strap connector, and so I'm just going over that a couple of times, make sure that our stitches stick there, because that's going to be a really important spot for us. We definitely don't want that to come out. Okay, we're almost back to where we started. Okay, we'll just check our stitching and make sure that we did not skip any stitches anywhere. We look pretty good. All right, yeah, we look good. So we're gonna do binding, and instead of, oh boy, instead of showing you the, that's all of our scraps from punching the holes through our strap. Instead of showing you stitching the binding, because I've done that already, I'm just gonna show you how we sort of start and stretch the binding. So I'm just cutting off the excess that we have here, so that it fits really nicely. Okay. So I like to start on a side. So we'll take our end and basically just here on a side and clip it. And then you can sort of start to stretch it, and the fold over elastic has this center marking, so you kind of know exactly where center is, which is really helpful when you are binding a bag. So that we're going to keep going all the way around, and then I'm going to stitch this on just like I stitched on this one, and then we'll turn our bag. All right, so just make sure you caught everything, and we did. It looks really good. So now we can go ahead and reach in our front pocket here and sort of grab an end. We're gonna start to really gently turn our bag. And we're just gonna push out sort of all of those seams. On the front and the back, and oh my gosh, this is the cutest. All right, let's go to the finish table so we can look at the whole thing all together. It's a little difficult here to see the whole thing on camera. Let's go to the finish table and take a look.
All right, you guys, we did it. We're done. Whew. It's a workout, but a workout that's worth it, because you don't get a finished bag at the end of a traditional workout, but a sewing workout you do. So I showed you all the options in the beginning of the video. All of our pockets that you just made with me here are sort of alternate zip method with our binding, our back pocket, which might be my favorite back pocket that I've done. Let's see, can we get this on? We'll zip it back up. So this is not a fast make, but you're making an intermediate pattern, so it's really not meant to be a fast make. Look at how cute. Okay, so cute. It fits great. It's an awesome size. Overall size, you guys, 7.75 inches wide, 11 inches tall, 2 inches wide. So really a good amount of space. You're going to be able to fit a lot of stuff in here. You really are. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please like, comment, tell me if you're going to make this bag or if you've made it already and what you think of it. Subscribe if you haven't. We love to grow our wonderful sewing community here. I love to have you here, and I appreciate you guys so much. So excited. I'm gonna keep this one. I also forgot to put my bag tag on, so I kind of have to keep it, right? That's what I'm gonna tell Michael. I have to keep it because I forgot the bag tag. You know, what can you do? What can you do? All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you soon.